Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and I surprised myself. How did I manage to do that? I pressed a button without realizing I was live. Um, Today, we are going to be talking about overwhelm. If any of you relate to that, this is when you realize that you're starting to make lists of your lists. You are so far behind on everything that uh, it becomes just insane. And I am an expert on that. And that's why I thought that we would talk about it today. I'm just going to sort out some screens so you're going to see me multitasking a little bit here. Um, Unfortunately, I can't do too much of until we're live. So I'm just wondering if any of you actually relate to this whole problem about, okay, I've got so much on my plate that I can't cope with it. And it's just every day I seem to be adding more and doing not enough. So if that makes sense to any of you, that's what we're going to be talking about. But before we do, as usual, we're going to do some catch-up stuff, just on the housekeeping stuff in terms of the viewers. Because, hi there, Jody. Because some people don't have a chance to go to um, all the different live streams. Sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of noises here. Some people don't get an opportunity to go to all the live streams. So what they do is they try and catch up later. And so let's just make sure that we've got everybody on the list that deserves to be. I first of all wanted to acknowledge that um, Erin's going to be, hopefully she will come on to one of the broadcasts this weekend. Last weekend, she was telling us that all the numbers were looking good. For those of you who don't know, Erin's been in sort of uh, care. She was away from her home where she's been living, and she's been in care while they're trying to level out her blood sugar and various other things. And she had pressure sores and all sorts of things going on. So she's had a really tough time of it. But the news, as I remember, it was pretty good from last weekend. So we're very pleased to hear that. Lauren is continuing to do really well. And we're definitely beginning to talk about her going home. So that's a really positive sign. I'm delighted to hear that. And for those of you who know Jody, who's with me at the moment, Jody, um, you're you're having sort of corrugated life, right? It's coming in waves. I call that a corrugation because I'm certain a lot of people relate to that. Uh, quite honestly, Jody, I think part of that is overwhelm, and we'll find out because I found out when you're sort of clinging on um, by the yeah, when you're sort of clinging on to stuff, you sort of have control some of the time, and then the waves come in, and you sort of get control again, and then the waves come in. 9 times out of 10, you're probably trying to do too much, or you're asking too much of yourself. But we'll be talking about that in a second. So I'm delighted that you are here so we can talk about it. Okay, for birthdays. Oh, hang on. So let me continue. Kerry's doing really well. She was telling us a story today that just when she's on a group chat, and when she was saying that she went to the zoo and got chased down by a duck. And go figure that one. Only Carrie, right? And Becca came into the broadcast last week. I didn't get a real sense of how she was doing one way or the other, to be quite honest. So maybe we'll get a better update this weekend. And of course, it's a huge weekend. I don't want to go a lot farther today without acknowledging, first of all, that there's been another school shooting, and that really, quite honestly, upsets me. I think that would be a fair word. And it is really, I don't know, it's just like, how many more of these things do we have to have? And what are we going to do about it? It's beyond my ability to understand. I keep thinking to myself, I wonder how many school shootings they had in England this week or in Australia. And I'm pretty sure I know the answer. And is it a coincidence that in those countries they don't allow guns at all? Or how many in Canada? And again, guess why? So, but as long as, I have to say this, as long as the NRA rules, which it obviously does, there is no way that, I don't know what you're going to do. How did he get into school with those things? And then he made pipe bombs, I'm hearing. He had both pipe bombs and pressure cooker bombs with him. It's like, really? What's with this, that school kids are making bombs now? And I don't know. How do you feel? Let me ask you that one. How do you feel about, we know that Big Brother is watching our every move, that we need to be checking who's watching those sort of sites where they're getting that information. Because I'm pretty sure that people have the ability to watch those sites. And I'm not quite sure, and maybe somebody can help me here, but I'm not quite sure that I believe that they're looking at more than one person possibly here. So that is pretty scary stuff. Okay, I just want to make a note here for this evening's broadcast while I think about it. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. And the other one was... Yeah, I think it's very scary. To me, this is like, if we but how many times do we have to say this? Do you understand what I'm saying? How many times do we have to do this? I don't know. I thought Sandy Hook was the break point, quite honestly. But look how wrong I was. I didn't think that there would be another one after Sandy Hook. I thought, the law would change and that would be enough, but apparently not. And I have to say that, I don't know, but for some reason, the words, none are so blind as those that will not see, come to mind. That we really, I don't care what the Constitution, I do care what the Constitution says. And I still think you can have both ways. I think you can still have the constitutional right to bear arms and still have it, that, these automatic firearms are just not allowed. As they were saying, again, if it were a shotgun, right, there wouldn't have been 10 deaths. There would have maybe been only 2, which again would have been too many. But that's part of the thing. If you limit the size of the gun and the ability of the gun, then you limit the number of people that can be shot. Unless, of course, he walks in with 5 shotguns. But, another teacher went down. That's also, it's so sad. It's just like, how can they possibly guard against this? And how many of you would want to be a teacher today? I think you've got to look at that as well. I think teachers are going to have to be paid danger money if we're not careful. Because this is no longer something that, they should have to deal with, quite honestly. Okay, let me move on, because, yeah, I think they should have to pay as it pay. I just really do believe it. I don't think it's what they signed up for. I don't think it's what they trained for. I don't think it's in their psyche. And to tell them they got to be packing guns, that's insane. That really is insane. Now, I'm wondering whether you got to do the same thing as you do on airplanes, which is I wonder whether each classroom has to have a guard in it. Whether that would make a difference. But that could be 32 guards. I mean, I don't know how many classrooms there are in any given school these days. But, that's what we did to stop the terrorism in some ways on airplanes is we put a sky marshal on every flight or random flights. And so, to my mind, that helped as well as did much better screening. So in terms of birthdays, I know that I missed an anniversary yesterday, and I was really sorry about that. It was, for those of you who know Lolo, it was her son Brian and his wife Heather's anniversary yesterday, and I was busy out and about looking at properties yesterday, so that's why I missed it. Hi, Sharon, good to see you. And for those of us who remember Ashley, I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that it would have been her birthday tomorrow. And for some reason, I managed to put Angela's birthday wishes up a week early, over a week early, because it's actually, I think, her birthday on the 25th. So it goes to show that my mind was just not tracking on the right place. Perfection is a terrible thing. So I'm going to put that a bit farther down the line because we haven't got people here that haven't been here before. I wanted to give credit to... Oh, is that right, Jody? 61 tomorrow. Wow. Yeah, it's an auspicious day, isn't it? Beth isn't here yet, but she's done an incredible job. I believe she has succeeded. I didn't get the answer back that I remember, but I believe she has succeeded in actually averaging 1,100 calories for a month. And if she has, then this button is on its way to her pretty darn soon. But the other thing is, and I haven't heard from her about this because I was away yesterday, but she also gave up smoking. So that is huge. And I guess we will hear a little bit more from Sakura about her CrossFit. And we'll wait for the others to come in so that we can get updated on those things. So all right, so if anybody is out there ghosting, I just wanted to say welcome, and we're about to start the topic, but I just wanted to say a very warm welcome to you, and you're more than welcome to ghost anytime. If you would like to join in, please feel free. We're a very welcoming group of people. And the other thing is, if you have a topic, even though you're just a ghosting person, if you have a topic that you'd like me to talk about that I haven't, please feel free to write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com. And I won't mention your name unless you give me permission to do so. So, just make sure you put in there, please don't mention my name, or it's okay to mention my name. And if it's just okay to use your first name, that's great. Before we get into the royal the topic, I wanted to actually just touch on the royal wedding. I guess everybody's updated now, and you know that Prince Charles is going to walk Meghan down the aisle. I don't know why. I'm a bit disappointed about that. I know that sounds like a terrible thing to say. I think it's very good diplomatically. I think it's very kind of Meghan to accept that. I think for the Brits, I don't know why. I think the Brits will be upset because he's not the Brits' favorite person. And I think they wanted to see this away from, that whole setup, if you like. So I think that unfortunately won't go down well with the British public. It'll be interesting to see what the tabloids in Britain have said about that. In fact, I should do a little bit of research and find out whether they are approving of it or not. I still think her mum should have taken her. I don't know why. I think it would have said a lot for women and a lot for, stereotypes if we had her mother give her away. I don't know if anybody agrees with you. And I just wanted to check that, Sharon, are you going to be watching? Is anybody not going to be watching, I guess, is the question. I would imagine that these live royal weddings probably, are huge money makers. Yes, I don't approve. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I know that I know forgiveness is a really good thing, but I don't know. Oops. Can you guys still hear me? For some reason, it's changed the feedback on me. Okay. Okay, that's good. Something went wrong in my ears where I'm going, I'm not hearing it the same way. So I wondered whether it had cut out. Anyway, so I'm not very happy about that. I got to be quite honest. It's almost anybody except Charles who I would have been happy with. Isn't that weird? I would rather have seen William, because that's the younger generation. Yes, I do too, Jody. I think it's disrespectful to Diana. Yes, I quite agree. And I'm surprised that Harry okayed it. But as I said, I think you'll find this was a diplomatic thing. I think that the Queen would have ordered it. I just think it would have been wonderful to have her mother. It was just like it would have sent so many positive modern messages. Why does the father have to give her away? Why can't the mother? Am I strange in that? It's one of those rituals where you're going, really? If she's been that close to her mother, and so forth, I would almost see the maid of honor give her away rather. I don't know why. I mean, I'm really quite upset about it. Okay, so let's move on. And you think it was an order? Yeah, I think it was an order as well. Yes, exactly, Jody. The mother was the primary parent, and therefore I think it's totally fitting. Now, the mother might have said no. She might not have wanted that much publicity or scrutiny or whatever. I mean, I know she's going to read a lesson or something during the service, but that's, I guess, that would have been it. Hi there, Chip. Good to see you. We're just discussing what we think about the fact that Prince Charles is going to walk Meghan down the aisle tomorrow. I don't know why it's upset me so much. It's just like, he should not be doing that. And I can only presume an edict came from on high that had to happen. So, and, it's sort of going to take away from my enjoyment. I don't know why I'm so upset about it. I'll get over it. All right, so let's do this. We'll obviously talk about it a bit more. You could say I'm triggered. Yeah, that triggered me. I agree, Chip. I think that the Queenie said something about that. This has to happen. And I'm going, I don't know why. I would much rather have seen the mother or even William would have been fine with me, welcoming her into the family. Yeah, I'm totally triggered. You don't see me totally triggered very often, but between that and the school shooting, it's like, this is not a good day. Well, it's a wonderful day. I'm breathing, but, so be it. All right, Jody, so let's do a time check here. We are at 20 minutes, we're going to call it. And today we're going to be talking about, are you making lists of your lists? Do any of you find that you get into that level of overwhelm? And if you do, um, I want to talk about how we get into that state and then hopefully how we get out of it. But before we do, I just wanted to make sure that if you're new to the broadcast here, maybe you're ghosting or whatever, and you'd like to be updated with the various subjects that we do, we try to do sort of self-help type things on Fridays, and then on Sundays, we do 2 broadcasts, by the way, one at noon and then one at 7 o'clock, both Pacific Standard Time. And then on Sundays, we're inclined to do a fun one. So if you have not subscribed, please do so. If you are watching on the YouTube channel, then please click the bell, and that will make sure that you get updated. And if you would care to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, that's where I put up any notifications that we're about to broadcast. I normally give about a 35-minute warning. I'll put up a warning before that, probably a day before, something like that, or a couple of hours before, just to warn you that what the subject is. But then 35 minutes before I broadcast, I try to put up a warning. Why it's 35 minutes, I have no idea. I'm waiting for somebody to say to me, why do you give a 35-minute warning? I guess I must have done it the first time, and I've been doing it ever since. And my sort of time clock is set now to, if it's 35 minutes, then I need to put this up. I've got everything else, from that point onwards. If it's this time, I need to be doing this. If it's this time, I need to be doing that. How many of you can sort of imagine that? I've got this down to a fine art routine now. All right. So, so Sharon's saying that she's got notebooks for her lists, and you should see them now. You're organizing 2 major parties. Wow. Really? And this is because you chose to give yourself that much stress, right? So this is an ideal subject. Yeah. Okay. So tell me something. This is my first question. How do you tell when you're overwhelmed? Now, we know that. Yeah. How can you tell? What changes where one is that you're multitasking on all sorts of levels, but then the overwhelm start. What are your indicators that you are overwhelmed? I know what mine are. And I'll get to that. Wow, so you've got your parents' 60th anniversary and your dad's 80th birthday. Are they close to each other in days or months? Or are they fairly well spaced out? Okay, July and November. All right, so Sharon, the interesting thing, are you working on them both at the same time? Yes. So, okay. So Chip, is it okay that I talk about it? Chip saying that when she closes her notebook where the lists are and then lie down overwhelmed, that's when she knows she's had enough. It's like, yeah. So Sharon, it's interesting though, although you try not to work on both, you probably in your mind are doing so. And I don't know if it makes any sense, Sharon, but I sort of work on 3 broadcasts at the same time. Just so that you know, every week I will, the first thing I need to decide is what are the broadcast topics going to be. So I get those sorted first. Okay, now I know what the topics are going to be. And then as I sort of go through the week, I keep adding things to each of them. So I don't get set on the fact that I can only work on the first one. because that's not how my mind works. And Sharon, that's why I'm saying to you that if you find that you've got stuff going on about the second one, just, keep track of that. You keep notebooks. Chip, do you do yours on notebooks or do you do yours electronically? Now, Sharon, you're saying that the birthday party, no, the anniversary, you're going to be doing all on your own. Okay, so funny enough, do mine digitally because I can't copy and paste when I write it out. I don't do well in notebooks because I change things around too much in my life. I like to change the priority. I like to do all sorts of things. However, I have my year-long goals in a notebook and any sort of major ones like that. So, all right. So the main thing is to know when you're overwhelmed, just so that I know I'm overwhelmed when I walk from room to room and I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I sort of, I go to the kitchen, and then when I get there, I'm get caught up on other things, and then I'm, an hour later, I'm still walking around trying to do the thing I first started with, which means I am out of control, right? I'm not focused and doing what needs to be done. Do any of you relate to that? Now, let me ask you something. You guys know that I'm trying to downsize and buy a property. I've just seen a property that I probably should be putting an offer in on. And I wanted to, I really probably should go and see it. But the day that they want me to see it is Saturday. And you both know, or you all know, that I'm going to be absolutely exhausted. And so from that perspective, why would I do that to myself? Why would I stress myself out? And of course, it's by far the prettiest home that I've seen so far. So I realized that I could totally stress myself out. Or am I being stupid and I need to go and see this thing and put an offer on them? Very difficult. I haven't decided yet. So now then, what area of your life? Oh, hang on a second, Sharon. You're saying, right, she decided to have her own little party. No, I don't need to drive by it. I did that yesterday. But I hadn't seen inside it. And today I saw inside it. And it's just like totally been redone, top to bottom. And it looks so pretty. So, the day before her marriage, and when's her marriage? Wow, who has a party the day before their wedding? Yikes. Well, maybe because everybody's in town. She's already married, so it's her anniversary. So she's celebrating her anniversary a day before the parents? Hi, Carrie. Yeah, that's what I wondered because everybody's in town. Yeah. Wow. Now, probably her intent is good, right? Hi, Aaron. Good to see you. All right, so I just wanted to we started talking, just so that you all know, we started talking obviously about the school shootings, and we've also discussed the fact that apparently Prince Charles is going to walk Meghan down the aisle, and I am pretty angry about that. But that's just my problem. I think the mother should have done it. Um, so we're talking about overwhelm, and we've decided that we all get overwhelmed. What I wanted to find out is, and Sharon's busy overwhelming at the moment because she's said yes to two major events. Why did you do that, Sharon? One of them would have been great. Or is it because you're the only one that is that organized? So part of what I wanted to say is that mostly our overwhelm is of our own doing. You know what I mean? We've overcommitted or whatever. But I wanted to find out, what area of your life are you most likely to overwhelm in? Is it your sort of finances? Is it your, you know, household stuff? Is it things to do with your car or Hi, Melik. Yeah, I'm afraid you, Charles. Yes, I'm very upset. And I've got a feeling a lot of Brits will be very upset. I can only presume that he was told he had to do it by the Queen. That it would be the honorable thing to do. And I don't think so. I would rather have seen William do it, funnily enough. But William's best man, that's right. But why couldn't he have been both sides of that story? I think he could have done it. But I still think the mother. I think it would have sent such a strong message for women if the mother had taken her down the aisle. you know? All right, I'll shut up now. So what I want to know is there an area in your life that you're inclined to overwhelm in more than others? Because that's another thing that's really interesting. Now, obviously, someone like Erin or Jody is probably going to overwhelm more on their health issues, right? Because they are so challenged by their health issues on a daily basis. Yeah, Sharon, I understand that you wanted to celebrate them, but to do both a 60th and an anniversary party, that to me is like, you know, uh, it was almost like maybe a smaller 60th and then a big anniversary party. Um, so this is like, because we know that both of those things take an awful lot of time. And how do you get help? Yes, Erin, exactly. Erin's saying that she doesn't normally, overwhelm about her health issues, but lately it's been more overwhelming about her health issues because she wants to go home. Her health issues are affecting, her overwhelm is being affected by the fact that she hasn't got permission to go home yet, and she's scared of losing her home where she's been living. So, yeah, that's I understand that why that would be overwhelming. So, Sharon, the punishment was self-inflicted, or and what I want to know is how many of you actually do that to yourself? Ah, okay. So Chip is saying that my finances interfere with my list. Like the thought creeps in and I feel paralyzed, the feeling of being overwhelmed. Yes, that paralyzed feeling, right? And then, yes, how many of you relate to this? Then I lie down. That's the second person to say that, by the way, Chip, that when we're overwhelmed, we lie down. I'm going to sneeze. Got to be the only person that coughs and sneezes at the same time. Anyway, yeah. So how many of you do that? You find that when you're overwhelmed, you withdraw and go, try to sleep, get away from it all, because that's what happens. Is when we go to sleep, the idea is to. Thank you very much, Sharon. Okay, so Erin, you're the only person in the world. Erin's saying here that I overwhelm about finances and doing things for other people. I often say yes to way too much for other people. How many of you relate to that one? That we do too much for other people instead of for ourselves? No, no, no. Chip, the whole point about Dear Mama Sal is to let you know that you're really not that special. She's saying that she thought she was the only one that lies down when she's overwhelmed. Um, all right. So, yes, Jody has got health issues coming at her very fast, and she doesn't feel like she's coping well with them. And now she's operating from a place of fear. Yeah. And then Erin's saying that that's for her, that's true, that when she overwhelms, she wants to sleep. So do you understand that? That's quite normal. Sorry, Chip. I know you thought you were, so special. It's quite normal to do that. It's one of the things that I always sort of watch for is, am I avoiding things? In which case I'm overwhelmed. So does that make sense to anybody? Is just be aware that, if I am trying to avoid things, then I have got too much on my plate. Yes, Malik saying, go to sleep so you can forget for a couple of hours. Well, will it go away? No, you're going to wake up and there's going to be just as hi, birthday boy from last week. We did wish you a happy birthday. Hi, Jonas. We're talking about overwhelm. Yeah. And how many of you sort of think that if I go to sleep for a while, maybe it'll all go away? I mean, we all know we're smart enough to know it's not going to go away. But boy, wouldn't that be nice? So I guess the next question I have, once you realize that I'm glad you had a great birthday. So now then, you found out that, you're doing the behaviors that you're doing the behaviors that tell you that you're in overwhelm. Okay, so what do you do next? And I say, what do you do next? Because I think it depends on who you are as to how you take the next step. So Jody says that when she gets into overwhelm, she prays. Erin breathes, makes conscious effort to start breathing. Yes, that's a good point, actually, Erin. How many of you know that when you get into overwhelm, your physical symptoms change? You start breathing from your upper chest. You're not breathing properly. You start, fight and flight type stuff. So it's really important that you know where do you feel, by the way, for some of you, you feel tension in your stomach. Some of you feel it, we've discussed this before. Some of you will feel it in your throat. Now, Sharon's going, okay, I break it down into smaller pieces that I can handle with. Yes. And how many of you agree with that? That once, you've got to let go of the big picture. If you are in overwhelm, Okay, and Chip saying she revisits the list and then takes on at least one small task, all right? So you get that achievement, which is always a good feeling, right? You can say to yourself, okay, I did something here. The other thing that I do, I totally relate to that. I wonder if any of you do this. As I do a lot of my um, scheduling on computers, I find I allocate blocks of time. And so all I see in my day timer is this is my time to be doing X. And then as a subcategory under that block, but I've got to go look for it, is the list of all the things that need to be done. And then underneath that are the steps that need to be taken. Oh, excuse me. I don't know why I've got allergies hitting me very hard suddenly. Please excuse me. So, yes. So, Erin and Kerry have a very good understanding and a relationship that is built on understanding each other. So, Kerry knows that when Erin gets overwhelmed, to tell her to breathe. And I'm pretty sure. Um, I'm pretty sure that goes both ways. All right. So, Chip is saying, I need that again. I used to allocate time and was so productive with that a few years ago. Yeah, that's what I found. So I don't want to lose the ideas I've got. If you could see how long some of my lists became, and it was just like I'd open up my day timer and things were crammed in there and there was no way I could do it. And then I felt badly about myself. Does that make sense? And so then the first thing I do when I start seeing that in my day timer, I go, okay, fine. I've actually got to stop trying to do anything. What I need to concentrate in is tidying up this list. Yeah, you see, I find that going and playing a game or doing social media doesn't fix it. I've just got to say that in all honesty. I find that I just know that I am procrastinating a bit more. And so to me, I find that actually taking a proactive step to clean up the lists is a really good idea. Now, the interesting thing is that once I have done that, it is amazing how things change for me. So I actually have blocks of time in my day, on my average day, where I literally hang on a second. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about, because a couple of you are obviously liking that idea. I wonder if I can see it on my phone. Sometimes the phone doesn't look the same as the computer. So let me just see if I can do it here. Oops, no, I don't want that. Thank you very much indeed. I want my day timer. Just bear with me while I see if I can find this for you. Okay, so I do my goals, for example, for May, all right? So I've got goals in different areas for my house, right? And I've got my dining room, living room goals, my staircase and lobby goals, my bathroom goals, and I put them in that way, all right? Um, let me see if I've got something else here that you can relate to. Ah, for those of you, who know I do my Sunday dinners, right? I actually have an ongoing list of what are the next meals I'm going to cook. I don't have to do them in that order, but I know I've got the food already in the freezer to be able to do those. And every time, I sort of go into the freezer, if I see something in there that I forgot about, I add it in there. Does that make sense? Um, Let's have a look at, oh yeah, the famous downsizing. All right, so this one is the one that I have going. All right, but it's, so do you understand? It's here so I can see it. It's not, hasn't gone away. Um, and then arts and crafts is interesting. It's quite a list on there. But now here's the next thing. This is a good start, but unless you start doing, now I find, all right, let me ask you another question. Even though I've got blocks of time, does it make sense to you that I sometimes don't keep to those blocks of time? And so here is the interesting thing. How many of you do things depending on what day it is? You know, if it's Monday, then I know I need to do the wash. Or if it's Saturday, I know I need to do the wash. Or if it's Tuesday, I need to do this. Or if it's Wednesday, I need to do that. Do any of you do that? Okay, so Chip does. Yeah. And so, Chip, if you know that that's your day for doing X, Y, and Z, and then you can go to the list and go, okay, I've got a list of 23 items, but which one is the most important today? Because as long as I do that one, I'm good. Yeah, Malak. I used to do it a long time ago, right? All right. So Jonas is under control, right? He just says, I do things when I know they need to be done. So that means that you actually are not overwhelmed. Yeah. What we're talking about are people who've got way too much on their list than they can possibly do. No, I actually do it. I do it on my Google Calendar. Yeah, it's actually. Hmm. How many of you use your Google Calendar? And if so, would you like me to? Huh. I can actually do a. No, no, but wait a minute, Erin. You know what I'm thinking? Why don't I record my screen and show you how I use it? Would that help any of you? And then I'll put that up as a video. You know, I'll just take a blank calendar, a new one, and just, make up stuff so that I can do it. Okay, I will do that because I've sort of over the years I've used it more and more in more efficient ways. And you can do lists and sub lists and all sorts of things if once you get the idea of how to use it. And the other thing I like about it is, that you've still got it on your phone. And then what I do, just so that you understand this, is, for example, my list that is this long of things I want to do, I then say, which ones do I want to do this month? All right, of all the things that I've got, which ones do I want to do this month? And then that's all I put on my, I have a whole strip. Let me try and work that out. How do I do that? Okay, can I show that? Wait, 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 wait. I think I can show you that. Yeah, so each of these strips going along there are a subject and it's got the goal for the month. All right. So the first one is the house. And my goals for the month um, I are underneath, but each week I put this week's goal on the top one. So when I look, I haven't got them all in the time slots, but I just have them all at the top. These are the things I want to be working on. So, for example, let me give you an example. I had here for This is so funny. I keep plugging in my my cord for my phone, but the thing is that the other end's not plugged into anything. Anyway, for example, the Sunday dinners. All right. So I know what I want to cook this Sunday, and it's a chicken. What is it? A ginger chicken barbecue thing. But the first thing I needed to do was I know they've got the chicken somewhere. You know what I mean? I don't know which freezer it is in because I have two different freezers. I know I've got the chicken. So you understand that what's at the top of my list here is find the chicken. Because unless I find the chicken, I can't cook that meal. Does that make sense? So I literally can look at it each day, and today's task is to find the chicken. By the way, I've actually done that, so that I can now move on to the next task. All right, so I thought I'd mention that in case that helps. Does that help any of you? And then what I will do is I will actually, I think if you can break down your goals into 10-minute tasks, it really helps. Yes, we all feel a sense of accomplishment when we've deleted something off the list. And by the way, I find it great fun doing it this way as well. So, I am sorry. I definitely have got some serious allergies going on today. That would probably account. I was trying to work out why have I got such bags under my eyes today. I slept really well. I'm going, yeah, guess why? The allergy monster got me. I know, it's horrible. All right, so has anybody got any questions about this? You have a fire ban, right? I want to tell you, I I denied I had allergies for the longest time. And now I know I have them. You know what I mean? I can't deny them anymore. By the way, for those of you who know about my sleep apnea thing, for the first time ever, my incidence per hour went below 1. It was 0.6 last night. I got 100% score. All the things were right. But most of all, well, you know something, Chip? I try to find topics that I think we all struggle with. All right. And it's like, it's not that we're bad people. It is that we all struggle with these things. And I think it's a case of, I mean, who was it that said I used to do that? Melik, I think. I used to do that. Right? If you used to do it and it worked, why did you give it up? How many of you, when you get into overwhelm, do something constructive to calm yourself down? All right. I hear that some of you sleep. Do any of you meditate? Do any of you do anything else? Go for a walk. Because I think part of the issue is to remember what's happening to your brain when you're overwhelmed. You're firing on so many cylinders and it's you that used to do it, Chip. Okay. So Chip, my question is, if you used to do and it worked for you, did you just get lazy? Yes, Jody's saying she does crafts when she overwhelms. Kerry says she listens to music and she reads. You try and take a walk. Yeah, to get out of the house, yes, get a change of pace. I think if you can do anything where you can put you can put part of your brain into relaxation. One of the things that I find about walking is that it has you can multitask when you walk. How many of you have noticed that? You physically can be getting the exercise which checks a couple of boxes on your daily list, but also it is time to sort of think. And because you're walking in a rhythm, You're inclined to actually think rhythmically. Wow, Chip, that was an awful lot of things to have happen in 1 year. If you, I don't, do you know there's such a thing as a stress scale, Chip? Yes, Malik, all of us, when we have too much hitting us at the same time. That's why, okay. So I want to talk about the stress scale. Malik, your English is much, much better than you think it is. I think I would not have known that you would not English as a first language. All right. I'm going to go on to the stress scale, but let me just read what Jonas is saying here because that's a really important point. He says, I can't read a book when I go into overwhelm. I feel like I'm wasting time and I should be doing more important tasks, which is ironic because I spend so much time on my phone anyway. I want to tell you, Malik, your English is pretty close to perfect. If you don't know that, you need to know that. Seriously. Can being triggered cause you to overwhelm? Yes, absolutely, Erin. Because I got triggered twice this week. Yeah. Yes, if you want to know about whether triggering can go into overwhelm, ask Kerry. All right, so Jonas, the trick there is to give yourself permission to read for an hour. All right, or do whatever. I when I get overwhelmed, I try and pace myself differently. All right, so yes, I am allowed to play a video game, but only for an hour. After that, I then have to go and do an hour of achievement, and then I can come back and reward myself. And so that's how I pace myself, so that I slow down, but also that I get things done. Does that make sense to anybody? That you can literally, I find when I pace myself like that, I get far more accomplished. Yeah. Now, Kerry had that happen where she got severely triggered um, because she got abused, right? She got severely triggered, and then her whole system went into overload. Yeah, Jonas, but it takes discipline, right? Because you'd much rather play another game or you'd much rather, read it or whatever. But I think it's very important. The other thing is, do any of you relate to the fact, but if I sit down and read a book, I fall asleep? Do any of you have that one? So I can't sit down and read a book because I'll fall asleep. And I ask that one because I'm amazed how many people. Yes, Jody, I'm not surprised. Anybody else? I'm just going to drink breakfast. Yeah. See, what Kerry realized was that she, in trying to be helpful, ended up just not keeping her boundaries solid. And she's learned that one now. It was life's, one more lesson. Yes. How many of you watch movies with your eyes closed? Yeah, and what Kerry has now learned is, okay, I need to keep away from this toxicity. It is actually a toxic thing, Kerry. That's what you realized, right? I listen to CNN with my eyes closed. Yeah, you see the thing. Jonas is saying whenever he wants to sleep, he just reads the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. I think it's Decline and Fall, but I could be wrong. Um, I can read a really good book and fall fast asleep within 2 pages, but what does it tell me? If I fall fast asleep after reading 2 pages of book, what is the lesson? Let's see how good you guys are. What is the lesson? One of the things Yes, all right, so the thing I wanted to tell you was that whenever I, used to get overwhelmed, I would go and take the trailer and go somewhere. And what I would do is I would take, a couple of books with me, probably 3, and I would literally if I don't know if you can imagine this, I'd start reading the book until I fell asleep. I'd fall asleep, wake up, probably pee, and then go get some wash my hands, then get some food, and then hi, Beth, and then go back and read another couple of pages until I fell asleep. And then I'd continue that process. Literally, didn't matter whether it was morning, noon, or night. I would just continue that process. And after probably 36 hours, I would wake up and feel energized. And so, what I learned, and I want you to think about that, what I learned was I was that tired, and that's why I was overwhelmed. Does that make sense to anybody? So, if you read a book and you fall asleep, then understand that's part of why you're overwhelmed. You are too tired to do anything. Because as soon as you bring down the rate of adrenaline, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. As soon as you slow it down, which is what reading does, all right, then you fall asleep. Now, that to me is listen up. You are that tired. Does that make sense? So if you find that if I stop, I fall asleep, then you probably just need to do that. How many of you find if I stop, I cry? If I don't keep pushing myself, I cry. Or if I don't stop pushing myself, whatever. It's really important to listen to what your body tells you. Yes, Erin. All right. So, so to me, remember that's looking after yourself. Yes, for Jody, it's a cry day today. All right, big hugs to you, Jody, and to Erin and everybody else and Malek as well, right? Which is it's okay to have a cry day. By the way, do you beat up on yourself because you're having a cry day? Yes, Carrie feels like crying because she's so tired. All right, so can we talk about this for a little while? Is that okay with everybody? I wanted to just talk a little bit about your inner child because if you feel like crying, can you identify the emotion? For some of you, you're crying because you are sad. For some of you, you're crying because I'm scared. All right. So, the number one thing to do when you get one of these emotions is to acknowledge this is my inner child is trying to tell me I'm not listening. Yeah, Jonas. And this is just so you need to listen to your body. It's trying to tell you something. And Jonas, can I ask you on Tuesday, why was it almost a cry day? What was happening to you that your inner child wanted to cry? Do you understand what I'm asking here? Check in with yourself. Jody was saying that she had a cry day. You lost your best friend? I want to tell you, that's a really good reason to have a cry. That does not make you a wuss, honey. It actually is very good for you to do that. Crying is not nearly as bad as people think it is. If you can cry, you're probably not going to have a heart attack. Yes, Erin, right? So you know what your body's trying to tell you. I know I'm scared. Exactly. All right. And Jody knows she's scared. So I think it's okay to have a little, cry moment. But as long as you can acknowledge this is my inner child that wants to change things. Does that make sense, you two? All right. I'm sad because I don't like what I see in front of me. Boy, I relate to that. You're scared and sad, right? Those are two very, you know, typical emotions. So, Jonas, I am so sorry that you lost your friend. Did you say it was your best friend? Okay, Jonas, are you single? Yeah, Erin's saying she spends a lot of time telling her inner child um, that it's okay and it's going to be okay no matter what. I think that's wonderful. We're going to be doing some work on self esteem this evening, Erin. So, what I want to do is to take this stuff and then say, okay, how do you turn the self esteem around a little bit? Because I thought that might help. Okay, so she's going into overwhelm because of all the stuff going on in her life, right? All right, so let me tell you something, Jonas, because you've got a bunch of women in here. All right. I want you to listen up here. How many of you think that a guy crying makes him look like a wuss? If his best friend just died or his friend died, um, how many of you think that seeing a man cry is a negative thing? Jonas, I need you to see this. All right. So even if you were at school, all right, I want to tell you something. If I was sitting in your class and saw the tears run down your eyes as a woman, I would find that very, I want to say attractive. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean that it's pretty because you're probably sniffing and sniveling and doing stuff. But what I'm saying is it would be a really interesting thing. This is a guy who's not afraid to show his emotion. I like this man. I would actually, give you a bonus point. And, at the break, I'm sure a lot of people will be coming up to support you. So don't and I don't care, if your macho friends think that you are less than because of that, then your job in life is not to impress your macho friends. Your job in life is to be who you are. How many of you agree with me on that one? That I think a lot of my problems I had in life were because I was busy trying to be something I wasn't, instead of just being authentic, and a klutz and quite human. So very, very important. So I was going to go back to something. Let me just see what it was that I saw there. Well, I just know that I've been around a lot of women, and for example, I was watching one of the fathers about the school shooting today, and he was on live television, and he was obviously a very macho guy, and he said the most terrifying thing is to listen to your son tell you how scared he is. And you knew he was this far away from tears, but I did not see that as a coward or a weak man. I saw that as a man who deeply, deeply loved his son. So to me, yes, Jonas, be who you are. Really, I've got to tell you something. It's like stand up and be counted for who you are. Don't worry about that if you can. Yes, Malak, that we get taught, you got to be strong. Jody and Aaron, right? I don't want to cry because I don't want people to think that I'm um, pathetic, whatever. What is the word? Why do we stop ourselves from crying? I actually sat with my realtor yesterday, if any of you can believe this, and they're saying, "Aren't you excited?" And I go, "No, I'm terrified." But you're going to be moving on to a new place. And I said, "No, I'm terrified." They don't want me to be terrified. They want me to be, yay, excited about moving. Um, yes. You see, that's it, Jody. You see yourself, it's how you see yourself that creates the problem. Right. I feel weak when I cry. Chip. Yeah. And Jody, also weak and pathetic. You see, but what you are is acknowledging your inner child because we were taught it was a weakness. Now, listen to Aaron. I don't want to cry because I don't want to upset or worry other people. And when you're the one that's there for everybody else and you fall apart, a lot of people don't know how to handle it. Well, who created that problem, Aaron? You see, I've got to tell you, Aaron, it's okay for you to say, I normally help you. Today, I'm the one that needs some help. I'm so sorry to hear that, Jonas. All right. Yeah. So, Aaron, it is okay for you to say, I do it, Aaron. Sometimes it feels like a cleansing after crying. Can some of you imagine there are some days I do not want to help you guys? Right? I need to help myself today. So it's like it is, it, because I'm human. I'm not, you know, superhuman. I have days where I need to do that as well. Yeah. So that's okay. I think it's okay to be terrified about moving to a new home. Yeah, Jody. I really think it's okay to be terrified. Nobody wants to hear that. Well, that's their problem, not mine. It's my truth. So you see, I think when we can be totally honest and yeah, but it's like it's okay. I think it's perfectly normal. Don't you? I mean, I've lived in this house for 20 years. I love the house. I don't particularly want to say goodbye to it, but I need to. So I think that's perfectly okay to be a bit terrified. And that's why, I am doing things the way that I need to. Yes, Erin, and I want to tell you, if I were dealing with your stuff, I'd be totally terrified. If I were in Jodie's shoes, I would be totally terrified and sad. I think it's perfectly normal. So the question is, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is how do we acknowledge that that's okay and yet still move forward? So I find it interesting. Who was it that said that? Was that Sharon that says that sometimes? Yes, Sharon. Sometimes it feels like a cleansing after a cry. So because you've satisfied the inner child, you see, and what Erin has learned to do is to acknowledge that inner child. Okay, so listen to this. Beth says that as an adult, she doesn't think she's ever cried in front of somebody else. Well, I want to tell you something. I think you need to. I think that you have hidden just how scared you are. I think you have hidden a lot of stuff, Beth, and that's what caused you to, lie and do stuff. And I think that when you grow as a human, yeah, you don't want to show any weakness, right? Oh, and Chip's going, hi, do any of you relate? Hi, Tube, good to see you. Chip's saying that she beats up on herself if she cries in front of other people. So I think that's quite normal. So here we go. So Chip, what goes through your mind? What do you say to yourself? Are you just made a total fool of yourself, or what do you actually say? Sharon tries to cry in private. Yes, Kerry. Kerry's saying, I cry and I hate crying in front of others, but sometimes it has to be done. I want to tell you that one of the most difficult things, I think some of you remember that story I had about being at a specialist where he did a guilt trip on me. And all I did was allow the tears to start falling out of my eyes. I didn't sob or do anything, but I allowed the tears to just start dropping. And he changed completely. He said, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I said, this is what's wrong. I didn't deserve that. And I'm sorry to cry, but I cry because I'm hurt. Yes, Beth, a very interesting point. She says, when my mom died, my first reaction was to leave me alone. I don't want anybody to comfort me. It makes me feel worse. One of the things I've done a lot of group work, Beth, in dealing with young people and so forth. And one of the things I say to people, if the person if they're debriefing as a group or something, and one of the group members starts to cry, leave them alone. Do not go and hug them. Because if you leave people alone, they will cope with their stuff. If you immediately nurture them, then the child takes over. Does that make any sense? So what I will say to people is, you're crying. Tell me why. I need to know why. I don't go near them. I find out, why are they crying? All right? Because You don't know why people are crying. You may presume you know, but you don't know. You don't know what that inner child is having an issue with. And to me, the fact that, for example, Erin and Kerry are saying that when one of them gets upset, the one says breathe, the other said it's totally okay to cry. It's like, yeah, let the satisfy that inner child. Have a little pity party if that's what you need, because if you do it, you will be able to move on. If you keep suppressing it, yes, Erin. Listen to what Erin says because it's very wise, as usual. I think it makes you a stronger person if you cry in front of people because your stuff is hard enough. You face it on your own, but letting someone else in is so hard, right? So now I know that it is, yeah, I've cried unbelievably at funerals as well, Kerry, and the people I don't necessarily know very well. It scared some people to see me cry. Yes, because you're always the strong one. Well, why? You see, I think that we have these expectations of ourselves that are unrealistic. Don't you think the world would be a better place if we allowed people to just be? If you're sad, it's okay to cry. One of the things I always admired with Benji, I can remember him phoning me one time because Juliana was having a fit and crying. Oh, the girls were. Maybe it was the girls, one of the girls, the little ones. And I said, "Where are you?" And he said, "I'm in the bedroom with him." And I said, "Okay, so what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm just sitting here because she's having a temper tantrum, and I understand that, but I just want to make sure she's safe." But he wasn't trying to calm her down. He wasn't trying to, make things better. He was allowing her to have the temper tantrum, but he just was there to make sure that she was safe. And he said, and every time, that she calmed down, he'd have to start the conversation again that, why something had gone wrong and was, and try to identify where the fear was or whatever. And, then she'd go off on another temper tantrum because she didn't want to tell him. And he said, it's just a long process, Sal. And I said, I know it is, honey, but you're right. Find out where the anger is. Why is she so angry about this? Because if she can admit why she is angry, it will be a huge learning. How many of you how many of you wish that you'd been allowed to have your feelings? I have been in front of an audience of 7,000 people and cried. And because I was saying something that moved me and the tears came out of my eyes. Yes, Beth, you see, and that is your experience. I'm not going to repeat that because of the replay, but that is your experience, but it's not true. The thing is, can you deal with your stuff? The reason that happened wasn't because of the crying, it was because that person didn't deal with their stuff. All right? If you don't deal with your fears, if you don't deal with your insecurities, if you don't deal with accepting yourself as who you are, then how on earth will you live a happy life? What do I mean by being allowed to cry? Yeah, I think a lot of us were taught not to. I think a lot of us, especially men, were taught don't cry. Um, I think one of the interesting things about Prince Harry, the stories that were told, at that time, when he was when he was about to walk behind the casket of his mother, Prince Charles said to him, "You will walk in step with me. You will not cry. You will not show any emotion to the British public. You are a prince and you will act like one." He was 12. I don't know about the rest of you, but that's what he was told. Yes, but isn't, that's so sad. I can't repeat it because, I don't want to repeat this in public. But it wasn't true. It wasn't true. Sharon, yes, I remember watching them walk and going, how come they're not crying? Right? And now I know. Because I don't think any of us watching that funeral, I mean, I'm crying just thinking about it. I think any of us watching that funeral would have been quite okay with them crying. It would be perfectly natural. And I don't know about you, but I am angry that they were told that. I don't care if you're a prince. That's why the look on their faces. I just was watching it again recently and I still am angry. I cried for 3 days when Diana died. I don't mind telling you. At some level, I related to her at a very soul level. And part of me died when she died. I don't know what happened. I actually went in and got some therapy because I was actually very concerned. Yes. So it broke my heart because you knew that wasn't what they were, it wasn't natural. All right. So therefore, what had happened to them? I don't know about you, I wasn't sure whether they were drugged so they wouldn't cry or what had happened, but you knew this was not natural. And that's what Harry said. Part of the reason that he said he ended up with mental issues was because of stuff like that. He was 12. And it was interesting when I went and got some therapy because I realized that crying for 3 days perhaps wasn't a good thing. Um, the interesting thing was how much of my life, apparently, mirrored what had happened to Diana. And I didn't know that until I went and got some help. But a lot of my life mirrored hers. Um, and that's apparently why it hit me so hard. And I think it's, at some level, I must have been really scared it was going to happen to me as well. Well, do you blame Charles? Let me ask you something here. How many of you realize that if Charles had been allowed to marry Camilla, who was the love of his life, this would have been very different? Yes, Jody, funny you should mention that. That's another incredible moment, right? Jody's saying between those boys walking behind the casket and then seeing the video, when John Kennedy died and little John saluted his father's casket. You remember that? Yeah. Yeah. So, you look at it and Jonas, it's okay. Sometimes we're going to cry. My mum died. I didn't cry. I was so appreciative that she died because she had been in a very bad space, and therefore I was so happy for her release. Sometimes, the fact that people think you should be crying and you're not is again their problem, not yours. Yeah, I can remember too being at school, and I was probably a little younger than them. And one of my classmates, their mother had gone out riding, fell off a horse, hit her head, and died. And I listened to those children cry for 3 days, and they were my age. And, the worst thing is, how do you take away their pain? Nobody can take away that pain of that sudden loss. But what they did is they took them away from, their normal environment and had them in the hospital area, so they could have some privacy. Wow. You see, and listen to this. Yeah, Erin was saying when her mum died, she didn't cry for a month, not because she was happy, but because she had so much to do. She had to plan the entire memorial service because her dad was overwhelmed. You took on the role of a parent. Wow, Erin, that doesn't surprise me. Yes, so that's interesting, Boob. So what you're saying is that when a death, uh, when we can expect the death, that perhaps it doesn't hit us as hard as when it's an unexpected death. Yes, and Kerry's saying the same thing because she was expecting her father to die when he died. She already had done. I think because what we do is we actually start mourning. I mourned the death of my dog, for example, for probably 6 months before he died because I knew I was going to have to make that decision. Yes, absolutely. And the thing is this, Kerry, and I've got to say this, and forgive me for saying this, but how do you know that you are not going to predecease her? All right? You are presuming that she will die before you do. And the thing is that none of us know that. Right? None of us know that we are going to, some of you probably think that I'm going to die before you guys. Well, you don't know that. And by the way, if ever I don't pitch up for a whole series of broadcasts, you know, you will know that's happened. If I miss one, then probably life got in the way and I wasn't able to contact you. But if I miss three and you haven't heard from me, I'm not around anymore. You know what I mean? Or I'm sitting in hospital unable to contact you. So I think what I would encourage you to be aware of is I want to go back to the overwhelm. How many of you know that if you don't deal with your overwhelm in a healthy way, that you are going to have heart attacks? You're going to have stress disorders. You're going to have eating issues. You're going to have da 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 da. Makes sense? If you don't deal with who you are and accept yourself for who you are, then that doesn't mean we can't improve, doesn't mean that we can't, make changes. By the way, everybody, big round of applause to Beth. Beth, how's the non-smoking going? And Beth, what was your average for the week? I got a button with your name on it here. Yes. And so what I'm going to be doing is I want to just sort of talk around this because it's really important. Yeah, I think we're stronger than we give ourselves credit for. I also would like to say when we're in overwhelm, sometimes it's not a bad idea to say, what help do I need to get myself out of overwhelm on this one? You know, who do I need to come in and help me? If you've got this big thing that you're organizing, maybe you can get a friend to help you. You want to win a button. What do you want to do to win a button? What is a really big challenge for you? I think it's cute that you asked that question. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, think about that one, and we'll see if we think it's a big enough goal, for you to win a button. Because you all want a button. Well, it's not about vices. It's about what have you been procrastinating about that you want to get done. Now, I've got a question to ask you guys. Sitting here. I saw last night what I think is probably the perfect place for me to move to. And I need to go. I don't want to go and see it because if I see it, I know I will put in an offer. And if I put in an offer, it means that I will probably have to tidy this place up in a couple of weeks. And you know the stress of that. So, but the more I think about that place, the more I think I need to go and have a look at it and put in an offer. Knowing how much stress that is. So my question, do I have to? No. Will it overwhelm me? Yes. But the question is, I think I'm moving on down. I'm downsizing. Yeah, so here's the thing that I realize that the reason I don't want to go and see it because I will put in an offer. I saw it yesterday from the outside, but today I saw the inside and I'm going, yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, I think I do need to go and see it, which means that I may need to drive even though I won't get any sleep tonight. Yeah, it's about an hour away. But if I need to go tomorrow because it will be sold tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. So how many of you can understand where my fear is of my overwhelm? My place is probably 2 months away from where I want it to be. Or, you know, or think about it this way. What if I actually get some sleep? Right? If I actually do get some sleep and know that this royal wedding is going to play out, for a month. So So I find it interesting that you say, "Go and do it because we'll all be here to support you." This is the interesting thing. Is part of the reason we overwhelm because we don't get enough help. Yeah. But you see, Jody and Erin, all of you, that I understand you're all there, you will be there. I've been here 20 years. Well, I think it's 18 and a half, so near enough as damn it, 20 years. Jody, I love your logic. Yeah, now that you know Charles is walking her down the aisle, go and have a look at the house instead. No, I understand that. But to me, it's like, how on earth do I get this place ready to sell in a couple of because what I will need to do is to buy it subject to the fact that I can sell my house. By the way, this place where it is literally walking distance from a superstore, a Home Depot, Canadian Tire, for those of you who know that. It's like it is steps away from a big mall with everything in it. So how many of you know that is not a bad place to be for me at this age? So, well, you see, the thing is that I will need help. Yeah. So that's, if I go ahead and do this, and if I put in an offer, oh, quite honestly, it's quite normal here to put in an offer subject to the sale of my house. Yeah, and if they don't accept it, then it wasn't meant to be for me, was it? Yeah. So, but can you see that I know that this is creating my own stress level, right? I will create chaos for myself. In the middle of mm, I won't take on the second one. You see, what you do is you buy it subject to my property being sold. So they probably will give an amount of months that my property needs to sell in. Yes, I think I will, Erin. I do believe that I will be upset if I don't go and look at it. Yeah. And it's quite normal because not everybody waits until they've sold their house before they start looking. So this is called, okay, I will, now I've got a feeling this house is so well put together. It's not a house, it's a mobile home. Um, that there'll be an awful lot of offers and it'll be a bidding war. So I not only have to think about the fact I want to put in an offer, but how much am I prepared to put up to live there? Interesting. Okay, so I need to go and make a telephone call. I thank you for that, Jody. Yes, if any of you do want to support me but haven't got money, I don't know if you know, but if you happen to buy things on Amazon, if you go in through any of the links that are in the show more notes underneath any of my videos, it ends up not costing you anything more. You don't have to buy anything on my pages. Just literally go in that way. It actually does put a couple of bucks my way, and every couple of bits help. How much more can I go? I don't know. I've got to talk to my realtors about that, what they think is a right price. How much would you pay for what you think is probably the right home for you? That's always the question. And where do you stop? I know when I bought this place, I went higher than I wanted to, but I actually did say at one point, that's it, I can't go higher than this, and they need to know that. I want to buy the house, but I can't go more than that. So I will let you know on Sunday. All right, so tonight we are going to be talking about self-esteem. For those of you, what I want to do is to find out when we beat up on ourselves, how do we put ourselves back together again? Okay? And on Sunday, I wanted to check with you. I'm not quite sure whether on Sunday you want to talk about the wedding or on Sunday whether you want to talk about my backup plan is to talk about cleaning. How do we clean certain things? Because we've done a lot of things about hacks and things, and I'm thinking, boy, I would like some cleaning tips. I don't know about you. You use Gorilla Glue to put yourself back together again. Yeah. Okay, you'd rather talk about cleaning, yes. So maybe we will do a sort of mix, a mix of the two. Yes, both. Okay, yes, we can do both. We're very flexible. All right, everybody. So I really thank you for your time and effort. I will be up most of the night. Now, Jody's done a really clever thing. You want to know about who's organized? It's Jody. She has already set 2 different alarms for herself. One is to wake herself up in time to see the start of all the shenanigans for tomorrow. And the second alarm to make sure she doesn't miss the actual wedding service itself. Never mind all the hats and everything else and what people are wearing, but she set a second alarm in case she falls asleep. So how many of you are going, that is a brilliant idea. I'm going to do the same thing. For those of you who are royal watchers. So I'm going to be doing that as well, Jody. And by the way, Jody, if I'm not chit-chatting with you on Messenger, you will know that I fell asleep. Well, you know something? This is why we do this, Malik. I seriously believe we need to talk openly about these things. I've never wanted it to be that I have all the answers. I don't, but I think between us we do. All right? I think between us we've got all sorts of different tricks of the trade and so forth, and that we can be happier, more productive people. And so I'm really glad that it is helping. And I'm really glad that being part of DearMamaSal is helping. That's because that's what I always believed. I think everybody I don't know, but I wish I had known this stuff when I was a lot younger. And I could not for the life of me believe I was the only one. You know, I said to myself, "I cannot believe that I am the only one. There've gotta be other people who need to talk about this and probably don't have the money to go to therapy or don't have the money to, you know spend to get the help they need." And really, in this day and age, we have so much, available to us. So, Kerry, you've done an awesome job. I'm very, very proud of you. Ah, well, bless you, Malik. You know something? I just so believe in this. And it's one of the things I always said to Benji. Benji said, I know you're retired and things are going to get more difficult for you. What's the one thing that you need to feel safe about? And I said, just help me always be able to help people. Because that to me is what I want to do. That brings me, yeah, I don't know about you, but I come off for one of these broadcasts and I know it's helped somebody. This is called Yay. Yeah. And so, and remember, it was Benji who put me here because he said he wanted to share me with the world. And it wasn't because I had all the answers. He always said you have a really easy way of taking complicated things and making them sound a lot more simple. And I said, well, I think we all deserve that. I really do. I honestly believe that we talk so much gobbledygook, whereas if you just break it down and look at it and go, okay, fine, how can I pull this into a story so people can remember it? How can I word this in a way? And that's what I do all week. All week, I'm busy looking at, okay, what questions do I need to ask where people will be able to relate to this? Does that make sense? So that's my job. My job is just to ask the right questions and to maybe give you some of my experience. In reality, we help each other. I'd love to be the superstar, but I'm not sure that I am. All right, everybody. So I wish you a fun time. I am going to go and make that telephone call. So those of you who come back for the broadcast tonight are going to find out whether I actually picked up my sphericals and did this. And for the rest of you, I'll see you either tonight or Sunday, hopefully. Well done, Kerry's doing the laundry. And Beth, you need to write to me and tell me where to send your button. And it'll be interesting to find out how much it costs to send the buttons. So, and then what we'll do is we'll pick the next person that's earning a button. How's that? Maybe it'll be me. Okay. All right, everybody. So have a super time. This is DearMamaSal going, I don't want to make the call. Can you relate to that? Bye-bye for now.